have been constantly talking about the high prices across the segment, from your petrol, diesel, gas, to even the basic products that you're buying, your soaps and shampoos and your biscuits, to the edible oil, your vegetables and whatnot, and the impact of all of that together this festival season. Joining me right now for a conversation on this, on rising prices, on inflation and its impact on the economy, is the former finance minister of this country, Mr. Chidambaram. Thank you so much, Mr. Chidambaram, for speaking with us. I don't know if you've seen, but Mr. Bhagwant Kuba, MOS for Chemicals and Fertilizers, made a comment recently saying, where is the outrage on fuel price hikes? It's just the Congress which is talking about it. There is no outrage. Your response to that?
He's living in a fool's paradise. Maybe the fuel prices are not a problem for him because government pays for his fuel. Ask him to read the Reserve Bank of India's October month bulletin. The Reserve Bank has once again reiterated that expenditure on fuel is restricting private consumption expenditure on other items, including essential items. And the RBI has recommended that pump prices must be reduced by cutting taxes. This, I believe, is the third or fourth month they have reiterated that advice. And ask him to get down from his high chair and go down to meet the people, especially farmers, self-employed people who drive two-wheelers, truck drivers. I got a message yesterday from one of my constituents that he has given up driving a taxi because he can no longer afford to pay for the diesel or petrol and still make a decent profit.
I am seeing that. We are actually doing a lot of stories and a lot of coverage on these high prices and the impact of it and getting reactions from people. Perhaps what we are not seeing and the minister is talking about is the kind of political mobilization of this anger. I don't see that kind of spirited opposition the way at one point Arun Jaitley or Sushma Swaraj would do when they were in opposition. Do you think, Mr. Chidambaram, that the Congress has failed to capitalize on this?
That's not correct. Congress party has staged a number of demonstrations and dharnas on pump prices. People have suppressed their rage and anger. They will give an outlet to their rage and anger at the appropriate time. What does the minister want? He wants people to come on the streets and throw stones? He wants people to be lathi charged and fired upon or tear gassed? What is he suggesting? That unless people come to the streets and throw stones, they are not opposing the government's policy or government's pricing. It's bizarre what he's saying.
Okay, let me move away from politics for just a bit. The RBI governor has cut the inflation target for the rest of the year. He indicates that he doesn't see it as big a problem as the first half. So, in a sense, while being cautious, he's also giving us an optimistic outlook. How do you explain this mismatch, Mr. Chidambaram, between the prices that we are seeing and the commentary that we are hearing?
He is looking at prices in compartments. We have to look at core inflation, and core inflation is minus food and minus fuel. That core inflation has not come down. That core inflation is still elevated. Besides, this is not a matter on which any Indian authority has control. Commodity prices are driving inflation, and commodity prices includes price of steel, aluminium, crude. You saw the Aluminium Producers Association complain seriously about coal shortage. Now, steel manufacturers, I met with some MSMEs, and they told me that they are no longer able to have a decent inventory of steel and produce to their capacity because they can't afford those steel prices, and it's locking up a lot of working capital. So people should get off their high chairs and go down and meet MSME units, people who need steel, aluminium, people who are affected by coal shortage. This is a government of which there is no shortage. The only shortage is common sense. They said there's no shortage of vaccine, there's no shortage of hospital beds. There's no shortage of space on the burial ground and burning grounds. There's no shortage of coal. They will deny any shortage. The people are the ones that feel the pinch of the shortage. That's why I said the only thing that is short in this government is common sense.
Okay, from Unilever, the biggest consumer giant selling soaps and tea, to Asian Paints and edible oil companies, everyone is warning of unprecedented price hikes even in the future and what has already happened. To a common man, what do I need to brace for? Because the other side is telling me, well, Sensex is going up, economy is rebounding, it's expansion like 2004 to 2008. How does that argument sit with what you've been saying?
I mean, don't equate the Sensex with the state of the health of the economy. The Sensex reflects the state of health of 100 companies or of 50 companies and the investor sentiment. If there is surplus capital in other countries, it will flow into India because India's stock market returns or even bond returns are much better than returns anywhere else. Therefore, that does not indicate the state of health of the economy. The state of the health of the economy is measured by the nutrition status, the hunger index status, the learning losses as a result of school closures, the number of jobs that have been lost and have not been recovered yet, the number of MSME units that have been closed, and the struggle of those who are running businesses who complain every day that they are short of this, short of that, short of containers, short of chips, short of aluminum, short of steel, short of coal. I mean, what more do I have to say? Somebody must read the people's views and not sit in an echo chamber and listen to your advisors alone.
I want to circle back to where we started from about the fuel prices. The BJP seems to be spending its political capital by allowing fuel prices to stay high, maybe in a bid to push the states to agree to get fuel under GST, a conversation that's been going on for so long but not going anywhere. Is it possible? Will the Congress party agree to this?
GST must be brought under, petrol must be brought under GST. Fuel must be brought under GST. On that principle, there is no quarrel. But the way the GST Council is being run today, the finance minister who presides over the GST Council has a supermajority. Her vote and the vote of the BJP finance ministers. Yet, and maybe therefore, she treats the GST Council with utter disdain. She doesn't respond to any comments or criticism. She abruptly closes the meeting and leaves. She sends all issues to a officers committee. The officers committee makes recommendations which are made into rules. Let me underline, they're made into rules for the central government. The subject is never brought back to the GST Council. The GST Council does not ratify those rules. The GST Council is being rendered completely powerless and dysfunctional, which is why finance ministers are protesting the manner in which the GST Council is being run and are standing in the way of any new commodity or item being added to the GST. You've heard the finance ministers of Tamil Nadu, Punjab, Kerala say that the manner in which the GST is being administered today, bypassing the GST Council, we will not agree to anything to be added to the GST because that will severely erode further our taxation autonomy. I sympathize with them, but I don't think anyone is against the principle that fuel must be brought under GST, but the precondition is the GST Council must be run as a council and all decisions must be taken in the GST Council.
Okay, some very scathing words there. Let me move on and talk about the other big story, which is the Pegasus row. In reference to that, you've tweeted saying that the primary basis of the Supreme Court order is that the government did have Pegasus. Now, while I did find mention in the order which says that there are allegations that the government used Pegasus, what are you basing this argument on?
That is the fundamental basis of the order. If the government had not bought, or government agency had not bought Pegasus, the government could have denied it. The Supreme Court order says there is a vague denial. A vague denial is practically an admission in law. And today the Israel ambassador has said Pegasus is sold only to governments. Now what does that mean? The Indian government or an agency authorized by the Indian government bought Pegasus. And the second premise of the order is that if Pegasus was bought, that is only half the crime. It's only when Pegasus is used, the crime is complete, the violation is complete. So the moment the Supreme Court orders an inquiry, it means that it accepts these two premises, namely a government or a government agency bought the Pegasus spyware, and that the Pegasus spyware was used against Indian citizens. These two premises are there. It is the fundamental basis of the Supreme Court's order.
But Mr. Chidambaram, could it also not mean that another foreign government is using it to spy on us?
Very unlikely, because in August 2019, the government admitted in Parliament that they have information that Pegasus has been used in some devices in India. If the government was not privy to that purchase and use, and if a foreign government was doing that, this government would have swung into action, raised national security concerns, immediately ordered a high-level inquiry, created such a furor, and they would have tried to earn brownie points that we took swift, firm action against a foreign government that tried to spy on our citizens. The fact that they kept quiet between August 2019 and 2021 means that they could not blame a foreign government because the blame rested at their door.
Legal experts say Pegasus cannot really be used for legal surveillance. The way our current framework exists to allow governments to carry out surveillance, which is in legitimate ways, Pegasus actually doesn't fit there. The way Pegasus is designed, if it is used, it will only be for considered illegal surveillance. So if we are to go with what you're saying, that the government is using Pegasus, doesn't that mean that the government is then indulging in illegal spying?
No, that's a conclusion which has to be arrived at after we get the report of the committee. That's a fair presumption. But at the moment, it is a presumption that the surveillance was illegal. Now, illegality has many shades. Was it authorized? Was it recorded? Who was it used against? How were the targets chosen? So I can't convert a presumption into a conclusive proof yet. But I think the presumption you make is a fair presumption that the surveillance went far beyond permissible legal surveillance and entered territory that was illegal, which is why the government could not file an affidavit. And I'm afraid you'll have to wind up now, Tanvi.
Just one last question, Mr. Chidambaram, because I saw you tweet about it and I found it very interesting, where you're talking about Parambir Singh, the former Mumbai police chief, and you're saying, you know, how strange it is that the Mumbai police is not able to find its former police commissioner. And then you go on to talk about how this is the Achhe Din version of the age-old childhood game hide and seek. Are you putting a question mark on the capabilities of Mumbai police, which is under actually your government?
No, I'm not doubting the capability of the Mumbai police. I'm amazed at the capacity of the person who's hiding and those who are helping him hide. Now, where is he hiding? Has he left India? If he has left India, where does the blame lie? If he is hiding in any state, which is the state in which he is hiding? And who is ruling that state? I think you missed the subtle point that I was making. It's not the seeker who's to blame, it is the hider who's to be admired for his enormous capacity to hide in India.
Okay, at this point, I am going to let you go. Thank you so much for speaking with me and, you know, answering my questions from everything from fuel prices to inflation and Pegasus.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.